Hi everyone, my name is Annika and welcome back. As it is Blindness Awareness Month, I thought that I would share those research projects with you that actually have a direct link to blindness. So today I want to talk about Layers of Vision. Layers of Vision is actually an exhibition that is based on a research project I did with Katharina Husemann from King's Business School and Leighanne Higgins from Lancaster University. So what did we do in this project? We collected data in the UK on how museums and exhibitions are trying to make their visual art, their visual content more accessible to blind and visually impaired people. Most of this is done through what are called touch tours or audio described tours. Touch tours are tours, as it almost says on the tin, tours where visitors are allowed to actually touch exhibition pieces. These might be the original, sometimes you have to wear gloves, or they might be 3D prints or other types of replica of the original piece. You usually can't touch the original piece either because it's too fragile, it might break, or because it might put yourself in danger, because you might have to climb up a ladder or something like that. Audio described tours are just like movies where someone describes what you would see if you could see it. Touch tours also have an audio described element, but audio described tours don't have the touch element. So we looked at how those work, how they are run. And what we find was that there are three types of access that they grant visually impaired and blind visitors. First, embodied access, where they really take the full body and the embodied experience, the experience through the body, into account. Another aspect is autonomous access. So autonomous access means that you no longer need any help to go to a museum, but you can actually experience it on your own without the help of others. And third is social access, because one of the things we found is that a lot of these audio described and touch tours actually have a social component. We got a lot of cake and biscuits either before or after, together with some of the other visitors that were joining in the same tours. But what we found is that all of these different types of access can be really tricky to manage from the point of view of the museum. One, of course, is resources. Most museums don't have unlimited resources. They have limited time and they have limited financial resources. So putting on tours for visually impaired people that require more staff to help sighted guiding, to help describing, help getting the touch items in and out of cupboards and so forth, requires more people, more time. So that's one of the challenges. Another challenge is that sometimes they make you stand out as a disabled person even more than you usually do. For instance, there are a couple of museums where you don't need to book a touch tour, but are still allowed to touch items as a blind person. You even get a special lanyard or sachet or something that visibly marks you to the security staff as someone who is allowed to touch things, even if there are signs that say, do not touch. But of course, one of the things that happens in those situations is that other visitors join the security force and start telling you off as a visitor. So some of this might be in a very kind and friendly way, saying, excuse me, you're not supposed to touch this. And then the blind person can say, thank you very much, but I have special permission. This is why I wear this lanyard, or this is why I have the sachet. However, what we also found is that quite a lot of visitors can get quite aggressive and quite mean in a way, and impolite and unfriendly to blind visitors who are touching artifacts with signs, do not touch. So this in turn limits the autonomous access, because even though you can go there on your own, you're struggling because you might have negative interactions with security, with other staff, or indeed with other visitors. So what is layers of vision then? Well, we did this research and found out a lot of things, published a paper. I put the link down below in case anyone wants to read it. But we thought, what else can we do? How can we use everything we've learned and put it in a way that is more understandable to the general public, but also more impactful to the museum community? So together with Shape Arts, Zoe Partington and the King's Culture team, we co-curated an exhibition called Layers of Vision. This exhibition was completely co-produced with our artists. All of our artists are blind and partially sighted. There are 10 of them. They decided with us on the name. They worked with us on some of the design features. They helped interpret our insights from our study into their respective artworks. Layers of Vision was exhibited about 2 years ago, and we're hoping to re-exhibit it next year. And if we do, I'm sure to mention it on this channel. In Layers of Vision, we have 10 art pieces, 9 of which were exhibited. 1 was a performance that happened live on the launch event. And for each art piece, we have a so-called access station. The access station looks a bit like a chair. So it has a flat bit and then a vertical bit at the back. On the flat bit, we have a braille description of the most important facts, the name of the artist, the name of the art piece, and a brief description of what it is supposed to show. We then also have that written at that vertical bit where on a chair the backrest would be. We have a QR code that people can scan that leads to our website. On one of the sides of the access station, we had a large print item that people could pick up and hold as close to their eyes as they'd like. And on the other side, we had headphones so that people could listen to audio descriptions. Here, we didn't just have one audio description, but 2. The first audio description was a traditional audio description that follows certain rules. It starts in the top left corner and then sort of goes clockwise around. It gives dimension of the art piece and so forth. It tries to give as much of an objective, unbiased description as possible. However, as there's more and more research on how to make audio descriptions more emotive and actually portray the emotions in the audio descriptions that the artists are trying to get across as well, we decided to also do subjective audio descriptions. In our case, all the subjective audio descriptions were actually written and recorded by the artists themselves. Our website then had all the images of the artwork and all the audio descriptions as well. We also had audio descriptions on our website on how to get to the location. We had a tactile map in the actual exhibition space that allowed blind visitors to feel the layout of the exhibition. And what is most important in all of this, our exhibition was completely to touch. There is not a single art piece that you couldn't touch. No matter what it was, if it was a painting or sculpture or photography, you could touch it. One of the art pieces actually flipped things around as well and was an audio description in itself. And you had to use the imagination to understand what the art piece might actually look like. During this time, we then had lots of workshops with people from the museum sector to showcase one way. It's not the only way, but one way of making museums more accessible to blind people and those with partial sight. What we found is really important. It's always about choice. Accessibility is choice. That's why we didn't just say, here's Braille for the blind ones, because some people, like myself, who are blind, cannot read Braille or not sufficiently to make full use of it. We also didn't say, well, here, just listen. Because first of all, there are people who also have hearing loss in addition to sight loss. But also some blind people don't enjoy listening to audio description. They rather read themselves. And the reading might be with their hands through Braille or through large print. That's why we wanted to give choices so people could enjoy the additional information in the way they preferred. One final anecdote I like to say about layers of vision, and I'm really curious to see if this happens again once we re-exhibit it in 2025, is that all the visually impaired and blind visitors were extremely happy to touch everything and went straight in with their hands. But with all the sighted visitors, we had to actually encourage them multiple times to touch. They were so worried that they aren't actually allowed to touch it, even though everywhere it said, please touch. This is probably because we're so trained not to touch anything in museums and art exhibitions that even if someone tells you you can touch it and you can read it and it keeps reminding you, please touch the works, you still don't do it. So that's one of my projects that links to blindness that I wanted to show you. I hope that once we get going with Layers of Vision 25, that I can also take you along in all the backstage stuff, how we set up the art pieces, what the exhibition actually looks like, taking a walk through it, and all of that. So stay tuned. That is hopefully content that can come next year. So thanks for listening, and I hope to see you again.